Metro X. This is a game inspired by roll and write games. It is technically a draw and write game or draw and draw game. So that means that there will be a card that will be drawn in the middle of the table for everybody to see. Then everybody will be marking things on their board, and you continue like this until the end of the game. Then you score points, and the player with the highest score wins the game. This is a game that I'm recommending in these confusing days of social distancing. It is a game that I've been playing with my daughters a lot, so that's great. You can play with your family. It can also be played solo, and I played it that way too, and it's fun. It's enjoyable. So definitely a game that I recommend for these difficult, confusing times, although, well, I guess you would have to order it online, possibly. Call your friendly local game store, have it delivered on your doorstep, and then they honk from a distance, and then you go and disinfect the box, whatever keeps you safe. The game comes with a number of these double-sided boards that you can write on. They're dry erase boards. They show different nets of connections. So this is the basic board, and this is the advanced board. It's a little trickier, but not impossible. It just plays exactly like the other one, but with different connections. You have different strategy because it is trickier to score well here. So everybody will have their board. Everybody has a dry erase marker that comes with the game, and then you have a deck of cards. You shuffle, 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 place them in the middle of the table, and you're good to go. Somebody, doesn't matter who, draws a card. The card may simply have a number, like in that case, and if that is the case, then you choose a train, a window in a car, a window that you haven't used yet. You write down that number, so that would be a 3. It doesn't look like a 3, maybe it looks more like a 3 now, vaguely. You write the number there. Then, starting from the train where you wrote that, you follow that line, and you look for the first empty station. These bubbles are stations. For the first empty station, and then you start crossing, following that line, until you either mark that number, or until you reached the end of the line, which you want to do because that scores you point, or until you find a station that was already crossed. Suppose that then that was it for my turn. Then next time I get that one and I decide to get orange, I place a 4 there and I mark 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is that for that turn. And then we draw again, and that would be a 5. Hooray. Now remember what I said. You keep crossing until you reach the end of the line, or the number that you have, or until you meet another station you already crossed. That means that if I place the 5 here, a 5 here, I'll be able to cross only 1, and that's it. And then I meet a station that already crossed, and so that's bad because I wasted the rest. So one of the key elements of the game really is that you want to build lines in a way that they help each other, because on the other hand, on the plus side, as I said, you go for the first one that is empty. So if I place that 5 there, for example, then I follow red, I go over all of these that I built with orange. I'm looking red for the first empty station. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and there you go. So that really, the orange helped me build the red one. Also, this may come in handy because I already crossed the final destination of the light green one. So you're trying to have the lines help each other and not get in each other's way. So what happens here? Well, you're just hoping for a skip card. Oh, I got one. That's so lucky. What are the odds? If you get a number with a skip, and the numbers with a skip are only 2 or 3, I mean, they only represent 2 or 3, then you follow these procedures, but you can skip station ready mark. So in this case, 1, 2, and 3. So that really helps. Are there other cards that you could possibly draw? Oh yeah, look at that. There is a transfer card. When you get a transfer card, you mark a place on a train with an hex instead of the number. And so suppose that I marked that one. Then the line where you place the X, you go and look for the first empty bubble, and that is where you build a transfer station. You write a number in there, a number equal to twice the number of lines that get into that station. Sounds complicated, but here we have yellow line, blue line, light green, and dark green. That would be 4. Twice that much is 8, and so I write an 8 here. Another way really is that instead of the number of lines, simply the number of connections, because each connection goes in and out. I guess unless you have the end one. So twice the number of lines that would be there. And why it's important to write the number there? Because that scores me that number of points at the end of the game. Right there, that's 8 points. However, I sacrifice blue line because there are no empty windows there, so I know that I will never be able to complete blue line and score that thing. So not all stations are born equal when it comes to place a transfer station. Some are worth a lot more, but at the very least you will always get 2 points because that's twice the number of lines that get in one. And so that's the point. That's how it works. There are also other cards. Say the free card. It means that when the free card is drawn, you do not mark one of these things, but you can erase a bubble that was placed there. And in some cases that, well, you have 2 small segments, you erase one that was in the way, and now later a single 4 or 5, you can, with a single card, you can cover those 2 segments, which you made one, by canceling an intermediate station. When you complete a line, you announce it. If you're the first player to complete a line, you mark the highest value next to it in the diamond. If later somebody completes the same line, then they circle the lower value. So only the first player gets the larger value in the yellow diamond shape for completing a line. At the end of the game is over when all of the windows are filled. I filled the end, that is 23 turns, so everybody takes the same number of turns, because of course everybody marks the same number of things, we draw the same number of cards and so on. At that point, you total all of the numbers from the stations that you completed. You add together the numbers that you wrote on the board from transfers. Then you count how many empty bubbles you still have. And suppose at the end of the game I still have 10 empty bubbles. And you look at this player here that tells you what kind of penalty that results in. So actually that would be 5. And so I write a 5 here, and suppose that I had 20 from these points and 16 from here. Then I add these 2, subtract that one, and I have my total. Highest score at the end of the game wins the game. And this is how you play Metro X. And now that you know the game by looking at the advanced, you may see why it is harder to score well on this one, because lines get in each other's way a lot more. They don't run parallel nearly as much. Learning parallel is what allows you to build one line and then help with the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for example. Then I put a 4 here, and 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what you want to do ideally. So I built a lot of pink using yellow, and I did not waste any, but it's a lot harder to pull off here than it is on the other side. But again, this is how Metro X works. Metro X has been a really pleasant surprise. We picked it up the last day before we went on extended family staycation for precautionary reasons. I picked it up just because, well, the genre of roll and write, or draw and write, or draw and draw appeals to me, but I didn't know anything about it, so I'm really happy that this turned out to be a big hit with my family. I also played it solo. It's fun. The general idea is so simple, and yet there is a lot that you can do around that one. And each time that you play, you will realize different ways in which you can exploit one line to build the other one, and also you realize different ways in which by doing so, you blocked another line and you got in your own way. The game does, you are your own enemy. The game does the AI opponent almost implicitly. Each move that you do locks out other options, precludes you from from being able to pursue different objectives. And that's really nice because, again, you don't have to have an AI in which the opponent does things. You will be your own best friend and your own worst enemy. I guess the AI, the opponent, is in the deck because sometimes you're really hoping for a certain card and you get it, and then yay, big moment of celebration, or most likely you don't. And the cards come out all in the order, I wouldn't say the wrong order, but that's objectively undefendable, in the order that feels wrong to you because you wanted it differently. Which also means that the game has a considerable push your luck element. Certain strategy will be safer than others, and certain other ones will pay off really well if now you get to draw that card. However, I like the fact that the game does not allow you to count cards too much. There is a 6 reshuffle card in the deck, and when that is drawn, you get to draw 6 stations to fill in 6 stations, and then the deck is reshuffled. That means that you don't get to know for sure the last card will be this or that because it hasn't happened, unless in the rare event in which the last card is the 6th shuffle. But you don't know that will be the case, so again, that works because, again, you get a general sense some cards came out, and so they're more likely not to come out next, unless the deck is reshuffled. So there is always that element of uncertainty that makes pushing your luck particularly satisfying when it works and still fun when it doesn't, which is most of the times, at least for me. My daughters somehow seem to be better at this game. My daughters are really good. I don't need to let them win. They're 7 and 9 and they have destroyed me several times, most of the times actually. So it's great because that means that this is an actual family game, not some games are marketed as family games, so that means that the parents are there rolling their eyes while the kids are having fun to an extent. It's a true family games because different generations, different levels of experience, of gaming ability can play together and still have a nice challenge. So Metro X, I definitely enjoyed it. It's a really good game in general. It is a great game for the difficult times that we are in because it's a game that you can play with your family. And you should be playing a lot of games with your family rather than in your usual game nights with your friends these days. It's a great game because you can also play it solo, so great. Metro X, really fun game, a great implementation of a general idea, the roll and write, draw and write genre that we've seen a lot, to the point that sometimes I feared the game, the system, the idea is becoming overused, is becoming trite, but nope. There's still ways of using that idea that feel fresh, fun, and entertaining. And Metro X is exactly a game of that kind.